Welcome to our journey through the Odyssey. Cyclops fight back, and Odysseus loses 72 men. It's a rough start, showing how hard it was to lead in the ancient world, where one mistake could cost lives. Blown off course by storms, Odysseus landed on the island of the Lotus Eaters, possibly in North Africa, where plants like a hurricane of winds burst out, blowing them far away. They rowed back to Iolus, but he refused help, saying they were cursed. This showed how trust was tricky in the Bronze Age, where sailors' mistakes could doom a voyage. Odysseus's fleet docked at Telepillos, land of the Laestrygonians, a tribe of giant cannibals ruled by King Antiphates. Two scouts met his daughter at a spring, but she led them to the palace, where Antiphates ate one. The giants attacked, hurling boulders from cliffs, smashing 11 ships and spearing men like fish. Odysseus, cleverly mooring his ship outside the harbor, cut the anchor and escaped with just his crew of 45. This disaster, losing over 500 men, echoes ancient fears of hostile tribes, like those in Hittite records, showing the dangers of unknown shores. On Aea, Odysseus sent Eurylochus with 22 men to scout. They found Circe, a sorceress and daughter of sun god Helios, in a stone house with tamed wolves and lions. Her past victims, she drugged their wine, turning them into pigs with a wave of her wand. Though they kept human minds, Eurylochus warned Odysseus, who got help from Hermes, a magic herb called moly, with a white flower and black root. To block her spells, Odysseus resisted her magic, drew his sword, and made her swear not to harm him. She restored his men, and they stayed a year, feasting as friends. Circe warned of the underworld and other dangers, showing how Greeks saw magic as both scary and useful. Circe sent Odysseus to the Underworld, a dark realm at the world's edge, maybe inspired by real caves like Cumae in Italy. He dug a pit, poured honey milk, wine, and sheep's blood to summon ghosts. The prophet Tiresias warned him, "Don't touch the sun god's cattle, and go home disguised to face suitors." Odysseus saw his mother Anticlea, who died of grief waiting for him, and heroes like Agamemnon, murdered by his wife, and Achilles, regretting his war glory. This visit, called an Achaea, showed Greek beliefs in honoring the dead, seen in burial rituals at Mycenaean sites. No tricks, just raw courage. Circe warned about the sirens, creatures whose beautiful songs lured sailors to crash on rocky shores. Greeks valued self-control, or sophrosyne, and Odysseus showed it. He had his crew plug their ears with beeswax and tie him to the mast so he could hear the sirens' promise of knowledge without jumping overboard. Begging to be freed, he was ignored as they rowed past. This clever trick beat the sirens' bird-women hybrids, represent deadly distraction, possibly from treacherous rocky isles. Odysseus and his crew are sailing through a narrow, dangerous stretch of sea. On one side is Charybdis, not a monster with teeth, but a giant whirlpool, 3 times a day. It sucks in everything: water, fish, ships, like a massive toilet flush. Then it spits it all back out. If your ship gets too close, it's gone. No survivors. On the other side, high up on a dark cliff, lives Scylla. She's a terrifying creature with 6 long necks, each ending in a snarling head full of sharp teeth. Her body is hidden in a cave, but those 6 heads hang down like fishing lines. She doesn't chase ships, she just waits. And when a ship sails past, snap. Each head grabs one sailor and yanks him up into the cave to eat him. 6 sailors, every time. Now Odysseus has a huge problem. He can't avoid both. The sea is too narrow. Circe, the witch, warned him, "Pick one danger. You can't beat both. Sail close to Scylla and lose 6 men. Or try the middle and lose your whole ship to Charybdis." Odysseus doesn't want to lose anyone. He's a hero, so he puts on his armor, grabs 2 spears, and stands at the front of the ship, ready to fight Scylla. But Circe already told him, "You can't fight her. Her heads are too high, too fast, and too many." This was the hardest choice Odysseus ever made. He knew 6 men would die, but he picked the option that saved the rest. In ancient Greece, leaders sometimes had to make brutal calls like this, sacrifice a few to save the many. It wasn't about being a hero with a sword. It was about being a captain who keeps his people alive, even when it hurts. Odysseus never forgot those screams. He carried that guilt for the rest of his journey. Odysseus and his crew, now down to 1 ship and about 40 men, are sailing toward home. They're starving for 30 days. Zeus has sent non-stop storms. No sun, no wind to sail. They're stuck on Thrinacia, a beautiful sunny island, but it's dangerous. This island belongs to Helios, the sun god. He owns 350 golden cattle and 350 white sheep, 1 for every day of the year. These animals are sacred. They never die. They never have babies. They just graze peacefully, glowing in the sunlight. Helios watches them from the sky every day with his all-seeing eyes. Before they even landed, Tiresias, the blind prophet from the Underworld, and Circe, the witch, gave Odysseus the same exact warning. Do not touch the cattle. If you do, your ship and crew will be destroyed. Only Odysseus will survive. Odysseus tells his men, "Guys, we're not eating those cows. No matter what, we'll hunt fish, dig roots, anything else. Just wait for the wind." But the crew is desperate. Their food is gone. Their bellies hurt, and the storms won't stop. Odysseus been exhausted from steering and praying. He lies down under a tree for a quick nap. The men sneak out, pick the 6 fattest, healthiest cows and slaughter them. They roast the meat over a fire. The smell is amazing. They even offer the best parts to the gods, but it's a fake promise. They know they're lying. Helios sees everything from the sky. He's furious. He goes straight to Zeus on Mount Olympus and says, "Those mortals killed my sacred cattle. If you don't punish them, I'll stop shining the sun and go light the underworld instead." Zeus promises justice. The second the crew sails away, boom, the sky turns black. Zeus sends a single lightning bolt. It hits the mast. The ship explodes into flames. Only Odysseus survives. He ties himself to the mast and keel, the ship's spine, with ropes. He floats for 9 days, carried by the current, until he washes up somewhere new. This wasn't a monster attack. It wasn't bad luck. It was disobedience. The crew ignored 2 divine warnings. They lied to the gods, and in ancient Greece, breaking a sacred rule equals sign total destruction. Odysseus lost everything because his men wouldn't listen. He's now alone, floating on a piece of wood, with nothing but guilt and the sea. After many trials at sea, Odysseus was washed ashore on Odyssey, a beautiful green island ruled by Calypso, a nymph and daughter of the mighty Atlas. Some say this island was inspired by the real island of Malta. Calypso found Odysseus on the beach. Weak and exhausted, she cared for him, healed his wounds, and soon fell deeply in love with him. She offered him something no mortal could resist: immortality, a chance to live forever by her side. But Odysseus's heart belonged to his wife, Penelope. Back in Ithaca, every day, he would sit by the shore, staring at the horizon, weeping for home. His longing represented Nostos, the powerful Greek spirit of returning home, no matter the cost. Seeing his sorrow, Zeus sent Hermes, the messenger god, to command Calypso to let him go. Though heartbroken, she obeyed. She gave Odysseus tools and supplies, and with her help he built a raft using a bronze adze, an ancient cutting tool. Odysseus set sail once again, hoping to finally return home. But Poseidon, god of the sea and his old enemy, spotted him. Furious, he unleashed a terrible storm, tearing apart the raft and nearly drowning Odysseus. Just as he was about to give up, the sea nymph Ino appeared. She took pity on him and gave him her magical veil, which kept him safe from the waves, saving his life and allowing him to continue his long journey home. After years of struggle at sea, the hero Odysseus was washed ashore once again, this time on the island of Scheria, home of the Phaeacians, a proud people known for their ships and sailing skills. They were peaceful traders and explorers, much like the ancient Minoans of Greece. On the beach, Odysseus lay exhausted and covered in salt from the sea. That's when Princess Nausicaa, the daughter of the Phaeacian king, found him. She didn't run away. Instead, she showed kindness. She gave him clothes, food, and water, helping him regain his strength. With her guidance, Odysseus was welcomed into her father's palace. Odysseus entered the grand bronze palace of King Alcinous, shining like the home of the gods. There he listened to the royal bard, Demodocus, sing tales of the Trojan War, stories of heroes, battles, and glory. As he listened, Odysseus began to weep, for those songs told of his own struggles and losses. The Phaeacians noticed his sorrow and invited him to join their games, races, wrestling, and discus throwing. When Odysseus threw the discus farther than anyone, they realized he was no ordinary man. Finally, Odysseus revealed his true identity, the king of Ithaca, survivor of the Trojan War. He shared the incredible story of his adventures, the Cyclops, Circe the sorceress, the Underworld, and all the trials he faced on his way home. The Phaeacians were amazed and honored to have such a hero among them. Out of respect, King Alcinous gave Odysseus treasures of gold, silver, and fine clothes, and a magical ship that could sail anywhere he wished, guided only by thought. With gratitude in his heart, Odysseus set sail one last time back to Ithaca, back to his wife Penelope, and back to the life he had fought so hard to reclaim. After 20 long years away, 10 in war and 10 at sea, Odysseus finally returned to his homeland, Ithaca. But the home he dreamed of was not the same anymore. Inside his great palace, chaos ruled. 108 suitors had taken over, greedy men eating his food, drinking his wine, and trying to marry his faithful wife. Penelope, to help him take back his home, the goddess Athena, appeared. She warned him that his enemies were many and powerful, so she disguised him as an old, wrinkled beggar, giving him a cloak, a staff, and gray hair. This clever disguise was a form of Medes, the Greek idea of smart, strategic thinking, something Odysseus was famous for. Odysseus went to the countryside, to the home of Eumaeus, his loyal swineherd, a servant who still remembered and honored his missing master. Disguised as a poor traveler, Odysseus tested Eumaeus's hospitality, a sacred Greek custom called xenia. Eumaeus welcomed him warmly, giving him food, shelter, and stories of the past. He spoke of his love for his lost king and how much he wished for his return, not knowing that the man before him was Odysseus himself. Soon Telemachus, Odysseus's son, returned home from his journey, seeking news of his father. When he entered Eumaeus's hut, Athena lifted Odysseus's disguise, revealing the truth. Tears filled Telemachus's eyes as father and son embraced for the first time in 20 years, a moment of pure joy and relief. At last they began to plan. Together, Odysseus and Telemachus decided to sneak into the palace, hide away the weapons, and strike when the time was right. The king of Ithaca had returned, and his enemies had no idea what awaited them. Odysseus finally entered his own palace, still disguised as a poor old beggar. The suitors, the greedy men trying to marry his wife Penelope, laughed at him. They called him names, mocked his ragged clothes, and one of them even threw a stool at him. But Odysseus stayed calm. He knew his moment was coming. Tired of the chaos, Penelope came up with a clever idea. She announced a contest. Whoever could string Odysseus's great bow and shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads would win her hand in marriage. The suitors eagerly agreed, but as each one tried, they couldn't even bend the bow. It was far too strong for them. Then the beggar asked if he could try. The suitors laughed. How could an old man possibly succeed where warriors fail? But Penelope allowed it. Odysseus took the bow in his hands, calm and focused. With ease, he strung it like a musician tuning a lyre, showing his perfect control. He took an arrow, aimed carefully, and shot straight through all 12 axe handles. The hall went silent. Then Odysseus stood tall. He threw off his rags, revealing the strong, scarred warrior beneath the disguise. The hall filled with shock and fear. With a powerful voice he declared, "I am Odysseus, king of Ithaca." His cleverness had fooled them all. This moment showed why the Greeks admired heroes not just for strength, but for wisdom and cunning, the ability to outthink their enemies. Odysseus, now revealed as the true king, didn't stand alone. Beside him were his loyal son Telemachus, his faithful swineherd Eumaeus, and the brave cowherd Philodeus. Together they locked the doors of the great hall, trapping all 108 suitors inside. No one would escape. The long years of humiliation were about to end. As silence filled the hall, Antinous, the leader of the suitors, raised a golden cup of wine. He laughed, completely unaware of what was coming. In a flash, Odysseus drew his bow and shot an arrow straight through Antinous' throat. The cup fell, the wine turned red, and chaos exploded. Odysseus shouted, "You dogs, your doom is here." The battle for Ithaca had begun. Panic filled the room. The suitors grabbed their swords and shields, but it was too late. Odysseus and Telemachus fought side by side, while Eumaeus and Philodeus blocked every escape. Arrows whistled through the air, one after another, each strike bringing justice. When the arrows were gone, swords clashed. The hall echoed with battle cries, steel and fury. Above them Athena, the goddess of wisdom, watched in disguise as a swallow perched on a beam. When the fighting grew fierce, she revealed her divine power, her aegis shield glowing with golden light, deflecting spears away from Odysseus and his men. Her blessing gave them strength to finish the fight. When the battle ended, every suitor lay dead. The palace floor was silent again. Odysseus ordered that the disloyal maids, those who had betrayed his household, be punished, while the faithful were spared. It was harsh, but in ancient Greece, justice meant defending your home and honor at any cost. This moment, known as the Nestorophonia, the slaughter of the suitors, restored Odysseus's rightful place as king and protector of Ithaca. Inside the quiet palace, Odysseus was finally home, but still dressed as a beggar. While cleaning, Euryclea, his old nurse, noticed a scar on his leg, a mark from a boar hunt long ago. Her eyes widened. She had washed that wound when he was a boy. She gasped, realizing the truth. "My king, it's you, Odysseus." He gently warned her to stay silent. The time for full reunion hadn't come yet. Penelope had waited 20 long years, never fully believing her husband was gone, but she was cautious. When Odysseus appeared before her, she didn't rush into his arms. Instead, she tested him with a clever trick. "If you are truly Odysseus," she said, "then move our marriage bed outside this room." Everyone froze. Only she and Odysseus knew the truth about that bed. Odysseus looked at her, half smiling through tears. "It's impossible," he said softly. "I built that bed myself, from the trunk of a living olive tree rooted in the ground." At that moment, Penelope's doubts vanished. Only the real Odysseus could know that secret. She ran to him, and they embraced at last, crying with joy after 2 decades apart. That night they sat together and shared their stories. Penelope told how she wove and unwove her shroud every night to delay the suitors. Odysseus recounted his long adventures, monsters, storms, and the gods who both helped and tested him. Their words filled the hall like music. Through it all, the message was clear. Real love endures time, distance, and hardship. After all the battles were over, Odysseus went searching for one last person, his father Laertes. The old man lived quietly in his orchard, away from the palace, growing fruit trees and tending the land. When Odysseus saw him, his heart broke. Laertes looked weak and worn, dressed in rags, unaware that his son had returned. To test him gently, Odysseus first spoke like a stranger. Then he revealed his identity in the most touching way, by naming every tree they had planted together when Odysseus was a boy. At that Laertes trembled, realizing it was truly his son. They embraced and wept with joy, father and son, reunited after 20 long years. But peace did not come easily. The families of the dead suitors gathered their weapons, seeking revenge for their fallen sons. Their leader, Eupeithes, the father of Antinous, led them with fury in his heart. Once again, Odysseus had to stand ready for battle, not against monsters or gods this time, but against his own people. The two sides met in a brief but fierce battle. Odysseus fought with skill and precision, striking down Eupeithes himself. But before more blood could be spilled, a thunderbolt flashed across the sky. Zeus had spoken. The earth trembled, and a voice of power echoed above them. Then Athena appeared, radiant in her divine form, commanding both sides to stop fighting. Her presence filled everyone with awe. Odysseus lowered his sword, and the people followed. Under Athena's guidance, both sides laid down their weapons. Odysseus stepped forward and made peace with the suitors' families. It was the final act of his long journey, not another war, but forgiveness and unity. Zeus and Athena had ensured that Ithaca would live in harmony again. And so Odysseus's journey came full circle, from war and wandering to home and harmony. His courage, wisdom, and endurance showed what the Greeks most valued: family, honor, and peace within the community. The Odyssey was more than a story of adventure. It was a lesson about life itself. After years of struggle, Odysseus didn't just return home. He restored balance to the world around. Here's where we call it a day. Kindly share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more.